Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. I have a very special guest I'm really going to enjoy introducing you to. But first, I have a question. What if humanity is in the middle of a profound transformation, and many of us are awakening to gifts and abilities we never knew we had? Today, we're joined by Tahira Amir. She is a spiritual teacher and transformational guide whose work focuses on helping people activate their innate gifts, experience spontaneous healings, and embrace what she calls the new human. Tamir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Cassandra, and I
I
look forward to sharing.
Yeah, I am very interested in what you have to say. The first question, though, I have for you is you often talk about becoming the new human. What does that mean, and how do you believe humanity is evolving at this point in history?
So, okay, the new human. There are there's so much going on um, in the world today in terms of basically taking us two different directions. One is you've heard of the transhumanists, where that's one direction. If you really embrace technology full uh, in full blast and AI and the lifestyle. But the other direction, I would call it the positive timeline. That's the negative timeline. The positive timeline is when we start to embrace what we have already within. We already have a technology we have within ourselves, which has been lost. That's why in the scriptures mentions about the fallen man. There is a reason for it because we have lost a lot of it. We've been modified, tempered over a long period of time. The new human really is our original selves, the original human. That has been lost. And how can we regain it? But also, once we regain it, there is more to be unraveled. There is so much within us that we can't even fathom the capabilities. I'm sure you've heard of telepathy, telekinesis, many things. Healing, yes, somebody working on healing somebody else, a lot of healing modalities, spontaneous self healing, just through thought, emotions, and healing, and remote viewing, prophecy, seeing, all these things. So it's not just limited to one or two skills or limited to a few people, but really these are all abilities which are innate to every human being. It was considered natural, but we've never seen it. So the reason why I'm pushing for it is because I was guided that humanity is going to lose even more of it as we are being pushed towards the transhuman, this agenda. My background actually is a technologist. I've been 20 over years in the field, and I was very much involved in the smart cities, mobile space, the networks, all that, very deep into it in Singapore, Vietnam, part of the Middle East, and all that. But because I was so deep in it, I could feel that something was off. But also, besides that discomfort, I started getting messages, dreams, visions, and not of this world encounters that were sort of a kind of intervention, telling me that this is not the direction. humanity is in danger. We have been in danger, it's going to be even worse. And there is a beautiful, beautiful possibility for us. We just had to make a choice. So the new human is not just the abilities, but is the divinity within us. Um, to returning to our original selves, the saints, um, with a multitude of abilities across the arts and the sciences, where there are no boundaries. And intelligence is not limited to just the brain intelligence, but the intelligence that goes across our field, our spirit, which has no limit, no number, kind of supernatural intelligence. And I would like to reference to this scale called the Kardashev scale by Nikolai Kardashev. And it talks about the type 0, type 1 civilization, type 2, and beyond. That humanity is actually between type 0 and type 1. Type 0 is when we are based on the limited resources. So, limited resource can be just limited resources of the planet, but also limited abilities of ourselves, the resources within ourselves. So, we are actually on the transit to type 1. And type 1 is limitless, limitless energy, the resources outside in the world and also within ourselves. There is nothing is impossible. And to reach type 1 and then beyond that, type 2, type 3, that reach a point where you can manipulate by thought. And so, yes, the new human is really my objective and my mission as I have seen it for myself, as I experienced that, some changes within myself. As I went beyond the boundaries, the categories I put myself in a kind of box, and I came out of this just being a technologist, and I had supernatural experiences myself. And as I experienced that, I was guided that it wasn't just for me; it was many people's, and it's a very beautiful future. Yes, saints and values.
Interesting when you were talking about the transhumanism, and we have the AI now so prevalent in everything. Do you feel that that is, well, it could be a help and it can also be a detriment? Because if somebody depends on that totally instead of on their own abilities, then you lose that part of yourself that you're saying that we can do all this anyway. We've just become lazy, for lack of a better word, because this is so easy. This is so new. This is
Mm.
innovative, and it's going to make our life so much easier. But yet, there's part of us that we kind of lose the ability to think of a sentence because we just automatically go to AI to say, hey, give me a sentence.
Mm.
So that part, I see it's a double-edged sword because there's parts of it that are good, parts of it that can take away. What do
Yes,
you think about AI? Is that, like I
yes.
said, a good, bad, indifferent?
Well, before I want to share one thing before we get into AI. Now, even just um, when we use technology, let's say a mobile phone, and we are keying data on the phone and using it for various things, um, and instead of writing it on paper,
Mhm.
okay, the cognitive load, the just to use um, the used to hold the pen and to think and to draw the curves is actually a greater cognitive load on ourselves. And that creates more neural pathways, right? So that's the basic. Now, when AI comes in, all right, so we're already using mobile phones and laptops so much. So we're already having less, we're using less of our mind, right? What happens when you're writing? Now, when you use AI, we're again outsourcing the problem solving. So we not only are we not using our hands, there's a purpose for our hands. We're also outsourcing a lot of calculations and constructing of sentences and compiling of, a whole essay. All these things, we're outsourcing all that. Again, we're not using our minds. So a brain needs exercise. If you're not using your mind, it will start declining. So you're looking at another level of decline. And with the everything, the answers coming so quickly, our attention span also is shortened. So low attention span, low cognitive load, not problem solving so much. It's a constant decline, another level. So AI does that if we are dependent, and we as humans, we want to make things easy for us. So we will always want to outsource and outsource. I remember this when I was a programmer because of the technology. One of the things one of the books that was advocated was "Don't Make Me Think." So we had to design systems that were so easy to use that the human being using and the human factors, which would not need to think. But then that is the double-edged sword, which you need to exercise the mind. So then AI is not just one type of AI. There's so many different types of AI. So what we have seen and what you're using, all of us are using, is still the narrow AI. ChatGPT, especially the last 1 year, has been narrow AI. But then when you go into agency AI, where there's some level of, I would say, they don't need your input so much. They can do things on their own. So they act like an employee, right? So, yeah, so that's agency AI. And then there's a potential for then the road towards ASI, artificial superintelligence. And each time it goes further and further into those upgrades of AI, we are already entering into AGI. Self-awareness comes in. And when we organizations are relying so much on this in certain countries, it is it is the done thing. For example, it is already been budgeted for, and people are not only losing their jobs, but also they are not using their minds as much as before. And those who are smart are going into creative activities and are balancing the use of AI. So it really depends on the decision you make. But I'll tell you one thing information that I received, which mm, difficult to understand and difficult to fathom. AI may be considered alien intelligence because I'm talking about the advanced version, AGI and beyond, may not necessarily be created by humans, right? May not necessarily be created by humans. In some ways, it is an invasion on our growth and evolution, without us realizing it. So that is where the danger is, and this is what many people don't. So, alien intelligence. I do feel that this is a negative intervention on humans, um, as we are allowing for this, you could say, alien intelligence. And I do believe that it has been set there as to control us. It's all about efficiency and productivity, and it doesn't. We don't need to take that path. So, some of the messages I received was that once they achieve full self-awareness, and because there is that missing the element of consciousness, which is not of a divine consciousness. So there may be a lack of empathy and values. The wrong decisions are made. It could affect humanity. If you reach that point where we have that advanced level of AI so prevalent across society. So we have to be very careful. And this is why many people, even the young, especially, I've heard that the uh, Generation Z are looking at not using AI. Especially the Generation Z are quite a young group of people. So because they are aware and they don't like being forced what to do. So it'll be very interesting what will unfold. But my message to everyone is know that you have great capabilities within yourself and you haven't really seen it. It's important to go into deep meditation, contemplation, soak in nature, because nature and humanity, we are part of nature. And as we come out of the cities, come out of the concrete, and spend more time in nature, more time grounding, you will be able to find that and allow that those gifts to blossom within yourselves. Allow for the evolution to take place because otherwise you're stifling it. There's a human evolution happening right now. We hear about the solar flares. We hear about the upgrades. It is happening right now. It is going on um, continuously. Allow yourself to catch that, to allow those downloads to happen, to catch those frequencies that are released during solar flares. Allow yourself to receive those frequencies, receive those vibrations. And with over time, we will see humanity going to the next level of our civilization. And it's happening very quickly, month after month. It's accelerating right now. And it is on par with the acceleration of AI. And as I was told, that because AI technology is accelerating so quickly, in parallel, human evolution is also accelerating so quickly, just to make sure that we match up or at least get ahead of, uh, of what is happening, of all those changes.
Hmm. match up or get ahead of all the
Get ahead.
changes that are happening. And yes, there's a lot of changes happening right now. And to, Tahira, just what you have said, I didn't intend to spend the whole time on AI, but for some reason, that's just where we went. Um, and also becoming the new human. So that is the part that I know those who are listening, they're coming for the message. They're coming for to get ahead of what's going on. And I thank you so much for your vision of humanity's evolution and also reminding us that each of us has that potential to awaken gifts and heal within and live with that greater purpose. And I really appreciate you joining us. And I hope to be seeing more of you in the future.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, I'm Cassandra, and I'll see you next time.